Walter Davis, Ralph Sampson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Moses Malone, Adrian Dantley, Bill Laimbeer, Kevin McHale, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Clyde Drexler, Dominique Wilkins, Michael Jordan, Hakeem Olajuwon, George Gervin, Dennis Johnson, Isaiah Thomas, Mark Aguirre, Sidney Moncrief, Julius Erving, Charles Barkley, Jack Sikma, Alex English, Bernard King, James Worthy, Michael Ray Richardson, Marquise Johnson, like a repeat of other players and other pattern. All these players are players that NBA fans over around the age of 40 should know or remember. I'm a little bit younger than that, but I respect my history. And read more about these other guys, man. It really saddens you to see how some of these guys are just forgotten, man. They're just forgotten. And you see these incorrect rankings of players. And I'm going to tell you one of the saddest places to read articles is Bleach Report. I stopped reading that shit, man, because it just almost brings a tear to your eye to see how uneducated and stupid some of these fans are. It has nothing to do with opinions and not agreeing with me. It's just that some people are just uneducated when it comes to, or miseducated, I should say, when it comes to properly ranking certain players. They did a goddamn, what was it? I seen a study recently saying that there's evidence that human intelligence is declining. No shit. Look at YouTube lately. We've been saying that for years. But the point of this video, man, is I want to talk about, I get sick and tired of people denigrating Wilt Chamberlain. All right, this man's been dead now for going on 14 years, and he's no longer here to put his perspective on things. He can't sit up here and tell you certain things about his game. Now, was Wilt prone to hyperbole? Yeah, he was. But make no mistake about it, Wilt Chamberlain was, in my opinion, the most dominant center of all time. And you can make the claim that he was the greatest center of all time. The only person who challenges him in that aspect is Kareem. And to me, it took Kareem's 20 years to slightly supersede what Wilt did in 14 years. If you want to put that in perspective. But the thing I hear about people that, the thing I see that boils me over, man, is when I see people say shit like, well, Dwight Howard would shit on Wilt, and Wilt played against 6'4" midgets, and I'd score a lot of points too if I took 40 shots and all this, and look, number one, Wilt had a very if you look at Wilt Chamberlain, different pictures of him when he's dressed in normal attire, particularly, you will notice that he's very proportional to. He wasn't one of these guys who were big like George Mirasan, where he had acromegaly, and he was proportionally all big in certain areas, or like Andre the Giant, who had a very large torso but short legs. Or some people who have very long legs and small torso. Wilt was very proportional in his size. And this is a guy who was 7'1" and wore a size 12 shoe. By comparison, I'm 6'2", 6'3", and I wear a size 15 shoe. So, you can't always look at a person's body type to see how strong they are. And anyway, this guy was 7'1". When he first came to the NBA, I think Wilt was something like 7'1" and maybe 258, I believe it was, or something like that, 250 or so. And he slowly grew over the years. This wasn't due to any performance enhancing or strength enhancing. He did the natural way. He slowly grew to 275, 285, 290, And by the time he was with the Los Angeles Lakers, he was between 306 to 320 pounds. And even then, Wilt looked muscular. He was always muscular. And the thing that people remember about Wilt, if you played against him, was how uncommonly strong he was. This is a guy who I'm convinced was even stronger than Shaquille O'Neal. Robert Parrish, all right, who played with the majority of his career with the Boston Celtics. I think he was drafted by the Golden State Warriors in 1976. Was traded to the Boston Celtics in 1980. Played the greatest part of his career with the Boston Celtics. Got all of his glory with the Celtics. Finished his career off with the Charlotte Hornets and played 1 year with the Chicago Bulls, winning a championship before he retired in 1997. Anyway, Robert Parrish once said that he played against Artis Gilmore, and he played against Shaquille O'Neal because he played such a long career. He played against both of these guys. All right. Now he went against both Artis Gilmore and Shaq. Now Robert Parrish said, now, in his opinion, from going after both of these, from playing against both of these guys, he felt that Artis Gilmore was stronger than Shaquille O'Neal. Artis Gilmore. Now, Artis Gilmore had a reputation for being the strongest player in the NBA during his tenure. And that was one of the things that may have held Artis Gilmore back, as it might have held Wilt back a little bit, is when you're a person who's extremely strong, you don't want to hurt people out there. So sometimes you hold back a little bit. All right, but to put that into proper context, into perspective, right? As strong as Artis Gilmore was, whenever the NBA had these NBA-ABA crossover games, Artis Gilmore recalls playing against Wilt. And this is Wilt when he was about 300 pounds. He was shocked at how strong Wilt Chamberlain was. He said one time he and Wilt was battling in the post, right? And he said that Wilt was getting frustrated because he wasn't getting the position, in the post that he wanted. So he said that when the official wasn't looking, Wilt just simply picked him up and placed him where he wanted him to go. And he said he was so shocked by what happened that his head wasn't right the rest of the game. That Wilt was that fucking strong. Wilt Chamberlain was a guy who reportedly could bench 600 pounds in his prime, was still able to bench 465 pounds at age 59 when he had substantial heart disease. Let me say that again. This is a guy who could still bench 465 pounds at age 59 when he already was well into his heart ailments. This is a guy who once broken NBA players, dislocated an NBA player's arm while blocking his shot. And I remember also reading about Magic Johnson was saying that in the early 80s, when Wilt was in his late 40s, or mid 40s at the time, I think. Well, no, it might have been late. He might have been in his late 40s. I think it was a little bit later in the 80s. He said Wilt played in a scrimmage with the Showtime Lakers. And he said Wilt pretty much shut down the opposition. Even at that age, he shut down the opposition. And there's the verified story of Wilt well into his 50s going against 7'4", 290-pound Mark Eaton. And Mark Eaton and those who watched it saw Wilt Chamberlain back down Mark Eaton with ease. Now, when I hear these stories, when I see the production that Wilt had, and I wonder if Wilt played in today's era, what he would do. There's no doubt in my mind whatsoever that if Wilt was allowed to play his game, if the games were called fairly, and he was allowed to play his game, and he wouldn't foul out in certain games, because I see one of the things that might hurt him is that the way they call games now, there's certain things that players do, particularly in the post, that are called fouls now. But if he was able to play relatively 38 to 40 minutes a game, there's no doubt in my mind I can see Wilt averaging, if he's on a bad team, I can see him averaging 35 points, 16, 17 rebounds, 3 assists, shooting somewhere around 60 to 65% from the field. Somewhere in that frame. If he was on a great team, I could see Wilt averaging 20 points, 18 rebounds, 9 assists,